Hey everybody, Forever Retro 82 here. Hope you're staying safe and being well out there. So, 1994 was the pinnacle of the 16-bit era for both the Sega Genesis and Super Nintendo. And, well, me being a Super Nintendo fan for the most part, I do like the Genesis. I do. But I have a little bit of bias towards the Super Nintendo because, well, 1994, to be honest, was the pinnacle, especially for the Super Nintendo. We had some great, hit after hit. We had games such as Demon's Crest, Final Fantasy 3/6, Illusion of Gaia, and the list just goes on. It was a fantastic year for both consoles. But Super NES, I still think, had the edge in 94. Anyways, there was a time during the summer when both Sega and Nintendo made racing games for using their 3D polygon expansion chips. We have the Sega Virtual Processing chip, the SVP, and then you have, of course, the Nintendo Super FX, which was designed by Argonaut Software. Now, everyone has their opinion and everything and all that, but I own one, but I don't own the other, and I'll explain why. And the one I do own is this one. First of all, this game costed, when it was launched in 1994, $100. The reason for that being is the SVP chip is actually a beast for a 16-bit console. In fact, there's a big rumor, don't know if it's been confirmed because I haven't been able to find it, that the SVP chip technology is what was put in the 32X because it was able to render 9,000 polygons per second. That's insane for a 16-bit console. I mean, don't get me wrong, the Super FX, for what it was able to do, was pretty amazing. But the SVP chip did better. Unfortunately, though, with SVP chip, they only made one game because it was so expensive to produce and also expensive for the consumer. Now, you may be asking yourself, what is this SVP chip? What is so special about it? Well, I'm glad you asked because we're about to show that. And we're going to compare it with Nintendo's Juggernaut racing game at the time, even though it's more cutesy, while Virtua Racing is more serious in tone. So sit back, relax, grab a beer, grab a smoke a bowl, whatever it is you like to do during my videos, and let's go ahead and show the gameplays of both games, and I'll go ahead and explain my opinion on each as we play. So, with that being said, have fun. Alright, here's Stunt Race FX. Now, unfortunately, since it's emulation, it's going to run faster. And I've been trying to find a way to make it run at the correct speed, but I've been unable to find that option. So it's going to run a little better here than it would on actual hardware. But that's not the only game's problem. First of all, I just want to say the looks of this game have not aged well at all. I mean, as you can tell, it's a little smoother, but that's only because it's running on emulation. Because if you play this in a real SNES, holy balls, is it slow as shit. So we're going to play one track per game, you know. But I mean, like I said, it's fast here, but if you were to play it on the original hardware, it'd be slower than molasses. It would be awful. But first I need to say the tracks look very plain, but the game is fun, and you do get used to the slow speed if you have that kind of patience. Now, this game obviously has not aged well at all. Stunt Race FX has not aged well at all. I mean, I'm pretty sure many can agree with that. I mean, they tried with what they had, and a lot of people like the game, and I can respect that. And it is better to play it today than it is, say, when the game was originally launched, because, my God, was it a slow, sluggish game to play. Well, you have different cars to pick. I picked the 4-wheel drive because it's the fastest and strongest, and the others get their ass kicked. You have a little boost meter on the lower left-hand side, which makes you go faster, and if you hold the button down, the faster you'll go. If you get the blue power-ups, that will give you more boost. Get the red ones, that will lessen your damage. And this little fucker will always try to bypass you. He's an asshole. No one likes him. At least no one I knew when we originally played the game liked it. Because he was just an asshole. He'd always get in your way, and, look at this shit. Just get the fuck out of my way, dude. I mean, like I said, this game isn't horrible. Stunt Race, it's not horrible. It's not. Oh, fuck, I'll play one more track, just for you guys. It's not horrible, but it needs work. I mean, and on top of that, the speed originally was absolutely almost barely playable. You had to have patience to enjoy Stunt Race FX when it was originally launched. I mean, obviously here with emulation, it's a lot faster and more playable. But if you were to play it originally when it was new, it was a headache. I had a friend who loved the game so much, he bought it, and we played it together. But, you know, the problem is, well, with both games, they got boring and had very, very low replay value. I mean, here you got 8 tracks, and the game that follows up with on the Sega Genesis has even less, which we will see in just a moment. Let me beat this race for y'all first. And when we were kids, we used to, like, jump off the bridge, and we thought it was funny. Because, you know, we were kids. When you're kids, everything's funny, right? When you're an adult, nothing's funny. Everything's got to be fucking serious. I swear to fuck that F1 racer pisses me off. Now I'm out of boost. I need some boost. Come on, give me some boost. The boost. There's the boost. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. I mean, the game has that campy Nintendo feel that you expect on the SNES. That it just has that music, that feeling, and there's nothing wrong with that. But considering what else they've had out during this time, this was like Super Metroid came out earlier. I mean, what would you rather do? Play this or Super Metroid? And that's a sprite-based game. It's not 3D accelerated like this was. Like I said, it's not a horrible game. It's really not. It's aged very poorly, but we have ways that make the game more playable and enjoyable. I'm not going to get the first place. That's alright, though. We're not playing for real. We're just playing to show off some footage. Now, there's many people I've known who hate Stunt Race FX, like to a T. They want nothing to do with it. They say it's either too cutesy or it's too goddamn slow, because it is, and other things. But it does have that campy Nintendo feel. So if you like that from that era, you can't really go wrong with it. But unfortunately, for Nintendo, Sega was able to do it better, which we are going to showcase right now. Now, first of all, I must state this is an arcade port. If you ever played Virtua Racing in the arcade, this is basically a port of that. This game's been ported to many different systems, and they do better justice than the Genesis port. But the fact that something that was not even supposed to run 3D polygonal games, I think that's the word I'm looking for, do this is actually very amazing. So anyways, the best port you can get right now, in my opinion, is the one on Switch. That was ported over by M2, because of course it was. M2 knows how to port shit and make it very authentic to the arcade. But for what the Genesis was able to pull off here, I'm still impressed by today. Now, emulation doesn't do it justice. If you play it on an actual Genesis, it looks better than it does on emulation. Anyways, you got the actual racing mode, you got free run, 2 players, and that's pretty much your lot. Like I said, you got less content. But I think the biggest sin, though, unfortunately, is the amount of race tracks there are. There's only 3. So Stunt Race FX definitely has the edge here. It has more content. But if you're just looking for something that's a simple race, you know, just pick your race and go at it. But yeah, 9,000 polygons on a Genesis with this chip. That is amazing. And not only that, you have different like camera modes. You have this one that's slightly above the head. You have cockpit view. I mean, doing this on a 16-bit system is actually kind of impressive. Now you can see what I mean by it was more serious than cartoony. But I think one of the most amazing camera angles is definitely this. You wouldn't even think a Genesis could pull this off. I mean, I don't even think the SNES could pull... Well, yes, it could with games like Vortex, but that game is ass. Call me a hater. That game is way too slow. It's not even fun. If you don't know what Vortex is, it's a mech game that you can turn into different modes, and it's not good. Just even with the hacks that Super FX have nowadays, just stay away from it. It's not good. Anyways, but you can do all this, and you can do it on the fly, and it's obvious. It's very seamless. I mean, it doesn't look very good on emulation because the whole dithering is very pronounced here. If you play it on actual hardware, it actually looks a little better than this. Maybe on a CRT. It could be the fact I'm using a flat screen TV or flat panel, whatever the fuck you want to call a piece of shit. Might be, I mean, because a lot of old games look horrible on a flat screen. I think everyone can agree with that. But yeah, the fact that this can be pulled off on a Genesis still blows my mind today. I mean, yeah, it's obviously limited and it hasn't aged well at all, but I mean, just look at all this rendering it's able to do without too many pop-ups compared to Stunt Race FX. I mean, come on. I mean, imagine if this was 94 and you saw this. You'd be like fucking blown away by Virtua Racing's SVP chip usage here. It's very amazing to me. Yeah, it's sad that there's no music and you just hear this mundane motor sound, but it is what it is. I mean, I prefer this over Stunt Race FX only because of the sense of speed and just the fact that my little Genesis, a system that was supposed to run pretty much, I mean, the Genesis is pretty much an 80s arcade machine. It really is. Because they have a lot of ports of arcade games on there. It's like Golden Axe. Now, I know that sucked, but I'm not very good at the game. But I do love plopping this in from time to time. Just to see my Genesis pull something like this off. It's truly amazing. And it's just a sad shame that, you know, we couldn't get in more games using this graphic chip. But the thing was, they would have costed $100+ like this game here. So I'm going to go ahead and give my final thoughts on these two games. So I know what you're all thinking. It's like, dude, Virtual Racing looks like dog shit in comparison to Stunt Race FX. Well, like I said, it's emulation. The emulation runs, it clocks the speed, and I can't find a way to edit that. But Stunt Race FX, has more content. It does. So for some that'll make it the better game, but the speed kills it to the point where it's almost unplayable for most. I mean, back then we had more patience, right? So we were like, okay, well, it runs like shit, but we can actually have fun with it, you know? And then, of course, Virtua Racing only has 3 tracks, but you can see your Genesis look amazing. And it's really a shame because this thing could pop a lot of graphical detail, but it was at a hefty price tag, which is understandable. It's using a technology, I mean, the Sega Virtual processor. Dude, we could have had Virtual Fighter 1, I think, on the Genesis using this chip, but again, it would have costed $100. So, and like I said, there was a rumor that the technology from this was ported to the 32X. And I can't find if that was verified. I wouldn't be surprised, but, I mean, Sega Genesis had some great titles that didn't even use special chips, like Zero Tolerance, anybody? That was a first-person shooter using software rendering, and it's done a fantastic job considering what the Sega could do. Now, a lot of people will be harsh on it today because we have better technology, obviously. But if you were around during that time or were interested in that time, and you roll your back mind a little bit and stop being spoiled by all the shininess we have today, you would learn to appreciate it. I mean, I appreciate both games, but I have to side with this. Because it just looks great, and it plays great. It controls very smooth, and it's a lot of fun. It has that arcadey feel, while Stunt Race FX feels just like a typical racer. It's all mindset. Like I said, my opinion may not line with yours. You may think I'm fucking crazy and I'm off my rocker, and I'm just some old fart just talking some shit. No, that's not the case at all. The truth is, I really like Virtual Racing. My copy I was able to get, almost like duh. Is complete, obviously, and it cost me a whopping $8.99 at Vintage Stock. If you don't know what Vintage Stock is, it's a gaming store down here. Unfortunately, though, they like to follow Amazon's price tags, so sometimes you don't get a deal. But if you look, sometimes you get lucky. And when you do, you're like, great, you can buy it, bring it home, and enjoy it. Like, I bought my copy about 3 years ago. So, that's what that is. I don't have Stunt Race FX because I'm bored of it. I mean, I played it with my friend back in the day, and that was fine. That was fun. Good times, right? But it just was slow, and it just got annoying, and I just can't love it or like it all that much. The only reason why it's decent enough to play, for me at least, is it has that nice campy Nintendo feel that they had in the 90s. That happy-go-lucky, smile on your face, Nintendo sound and look. That's the only thing it has going for it. The controls are very unresponsive. I must say that. There's a lag input like a motherfucker, especially on the real hardware. I mean, you guys know I have an SD2 SNES, and I recently revisited it when I came up with this video idea for this video, and literally it is lag fucking tastic. You guys think MK1 on the SNES has lag, which it does, but holy balls, it has nothing compared to Stunt Race FX. So, what is your guys' opinion? I believe Sega won this battle when it comes to the 3D racer. There are more racers on the SNES than there is on the Genesis, and some were pretty good and some were not so great. But, I mean, when it comes to the whole 3D processing reign, in my opinion, for like in terms of looks, control, feel, this is a clear winner. The only thing that sucks, though, obviously, must be said, and I think I've stated it just differently, it has no replay value. You can play this for a few minutes and get bored. Now, I feel sorry for anyone that's spent $100 on this because of the lack of content. Now, there are better versions. The 32X version blows this one out of the water easily. It's smoother, it looks nicer, and you have more content. I believe you have, if it's still, yeah, deluxe. It has 2 more tracks. Still, less than Stunt Race FX. It's like, you just put more tracks in there, Sega, and we'll all have a good time, but I mean, it's fine for a short romp. You know, if you just want to like, slap something in and play a racing game that has a good sense of speed, which Virtua Racing does, then you're all set. Anyways, that's my opinion. You guys can take it what you will. I mean, I'm always curious to hear what you guys think. I mean, you guys notice I always side with the SNES because of my bias towards the Genesis. But the thing is I do love the Genesis, especially after I started collecting for it back in '97. I started buying games like Elysia Dragoon, Revenge of Shinobi, and the list goes on. And I found love within that system too. I just can't help but remember my best friend in that time frame, which was my Super Nintendo, of course. But anyways, that's all I gotta say. I hope you enjoyed the short video. I hope you all take good care of yourselves. Remember, keep gaming, keep loving each other, and keep it retro. And until the next time we see each other, you all take care, and we'll see you soon. Thank you for watching my video. If you liked what you saw and would like to support my channel, please consider being a patron. I'll put your name up with these fine folks who have donated to this channel, and that would be awesome to have you on board. If not, that's entirely up to you. I hope you have a good day and take care.